when I was first starting, you could really pinpoint the influences. Oh, he's copying him, he's copying like that band, all that stuff. But now I kind of feel like over time it's kind of melted into this thing, and I've kind of been coming into like my own vibe and style, and that feels pretty cool.
What's up, everybody? It's Keefy from Ghost Cult Magazine, and we welcome in Jason Singer, a.k.a. Michigander. I hope I said that
Hello,
correctly.
hello, hello. You said it right. You said it right.
Did I? I don't know if you're from Michigan or that's just a nom do music for you.
I am from Michigan. Yeah, born and
Okay.
raised. 30
I'm
years
also
of my life. Yeah.
all right. I'm also terrible at French, apparently. Nom de plume, nom de I don't know what it would be for music, but anyway, my bad, French people and French speakers of the world. So nice to meet you. You have a new EP out that is just awesome. I love the songwriting. I love your singing. You have a very, an honesty that I think is lacking in a lot of music today in your writing. And I just wanted to kind of start there. But before we kind of unpack the EP a little bit, I wanted to just ask about your journey. How did you get to be here as an artist? You have several releases out. You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah. I started writing music probably in late middle school. Then kind of took it a little more seriously in high school. And then all my friends were going off to college, and I was not very good at school. So I decided instead of doing that, I will just do the music thing. And so I ended up moving around the state of Michigan a little bit, and I kind of started Michigander, living in a place called Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is the west side of the state for anybody who doesn't know. And yeah, I just started playing a lot of shows, playing anywhere people would let me, and trying to build like a following of people that would show up to the shows. And over time, it grew, and it kind of turned into what it is today. It's wildly different than where it started, and it's where it feels cool to be where I'm at now.
Did you start out in bands or did you always want to be just kind of a solo artist?
It was kind of, I mean, I had like a little band in high school, but didn't really do much. And then Michigander was kind of like a moniker for what I want. I didn't want to go under just my name as a solo artist because I just felt like I wanted to be like set apart differently. I feel like people tend to gravitate more towards bands and band names. So that's a whole thing that, that is interesting. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like, a different vibe, and I'm glad I did it that way.
Nice. I like that you pursued your own path in a way. By the way, for people, I've only been to Michigan once. For people that don't know, the state is vast, and it's not just Detroit, although Detroit is like one of the rock and punk capitals of America. But yeah, the state is vastly different from place to place. Northern Michigan, Detroit,
Yeah,
the college towns. So Kalamazoo, yeah. Uh, just for people who want to know geography and only, watch sports and stuff. But
yeah.
this EP is awesome. You work with a lot of collaborators, and I wanted to ask about that because it's artists, right? You have this journey you're on. You make music for yourself, and obviously you want attention and adulation. But obviously when you have to kind of step outside of yourself and work with others, there's a little bit of this has been my baby for a long time. How do I get vulnerable enough to share that with other people? And you work with some pretty big name people. So I wanted to talk about those collabs and how how that came about.
Yeah, are you referring to the Manchester Orchestra collaboration
Right,
mostly?
yeah.
Yeah, that one that was pretty cool because like that's a band that was really formative and important to me as like an artist and starting. Um and I some of our people connect some of my people connected with some of their people, and we got in a room together and wrote that song, and it was pretty surreal and cool. It's kind of weird looking back now because I feel like I know those guys now because we get to tour together, and they're very kind human beings. But like in the moment, it was like kind of like just felt like really big, and I don't want to diminish that at all, but I still feel like it's pretty definitely like kind of like a little benchmark on my career to get to work with a band that I admire so much.
Killer. That must be really gratifying. And yeah, again, just to be able to at the as you progress in your career to be able to do things like that, it's got to be really intense, but also afterward that's one of the highlight tracks of the EP for sure.
Yeah,
I did want to ask you, you have like also very between your distinct vocals, lyrics and your music. I hear like an amalgam of different influences, but I wanted to hear from you who were your earliest influences that made you
Well,
want to make
now
music.
I'm curious what you think the influences are.
Oh gosh. Well, let's go vote. We'll do vocals first, right? Obviously, there's a lot of singer-songwriters. I know Dashboard is a big deal. Has to be Chris has to be a big deal for you. I think about Jets to Brazil. I think about a lot of indie rock from the like Pixies, Frank Black.
Yeah,
You have to
totally.
you have to bow down to the altar of Frank Black, Sugar and Bob Mould. So a lot of late 80s, early 90s indie rock, which is probably a little before your time, young man. But
Yeah,
uh
those are some of the bands. I think Oasis was a huge band for me. I loved U2 and Bruce Springsteen and all that stuff was all really pretty important to me and how I made music. The Killers were a really important band for me. Are an important band for me. I get to see them tomorrow actually in Atlanta.
oh nice.
Um, yeah, yeah, all that. There's so many bands, but I feel like now I've kind of when I was first starting, you could really pinpoint the influences. Oh, he's copying him. He's copying like that band, all that stuff. But now I kind of feel like over time, it's kind of melted into this thing, and I've kind of been coming into like my own vibe and style, and that feels pretty cool. I feel like it took a while to get there, and maybe I'm misreading it a little bit. I'm sure I have my blind spots, but I feel like I'm kind of getting into my own thing now, and it feels really cool.
Well, let me back you up on that. I agree. And then I would say, in addition to that, those influences, I think there's some really neat guitar stuff going on here. And I mentioned Pixies, but also there's like a jangly Tom Petty. There's an
Oh yeah,
REM alternative rock, like
oh yeah, absolutely.
really cool. I know people only know the hits, but like Gin Blossoms, if you actually go listen to those records, were wonderfully created. Guitar records, Meat Puppets, things like that. Not quite,
Hmm.
as heavy, but definitely the earworm stuff gets into you on repeat listens. And I went back and listened to everything as I get ready to do these interviews. I deep dive for myself just to satisfy myself and get my brain on the wavelength of the artist if I can. And yeah, I hear so much depth in that guitar stuff too. So it's really
Thanks.
like they hook you. You come back to it again and again. I love these hooks in the guitars.
Thanks, man. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it will never be the same, by the way, if I didn't shout out the EP name at the beginning. Let's just run through the tracks and any impressions and thoughts you want to share about each song. I love to hear. And I think our fans would love to hear our audience. So the EP starts with Superglue.
Yeah, you can walk me through it, and I will tell you how I feel. You can be my therapist for the day.
Fantastic.
Okay, Super Glue is the first song I wrote for the record. I started writing that in 2020. At first, it was kind of about maybe like a potential relationship, and then over time, the song kind of turned into a song about like how my relationship is with like chasing a career in the music industry, which is a funny thing, and a lot of times really goofy, and just a lot of goofy things and are involved with that. And so over time, that's kind of how I have felt. And so should I give up on this thing that I'm working on? Those are the lyrics. So that's what that song is about. Yeah,
And did you break your leg making this music video? I
I did
was
break. Yeah, I did. Yeah,
appalled and like
it was.
I hope your leg is okay.
Oh
Unbelievable.
yeah, that was like 9 months ago, 8 months ago. I'm much better now, but it was a pretty low point in everything.
Yeah, it's got to be traumatic and it's like a whole movie vibe while you're making a movie about the song.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
Very
And
meta.
then you incorporated the actual accident into the video, which is like
Yeah,
brave,
had
very
to.
brave. Stay Out of It is the next track.
Yeah, Stay Out of It is one of the songs I wrote with a friend of mine here in Nashville. My friend Dannon was his name. And we kind of wrote a song. It's about how I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut and how, like as human beings, we were going to disagree with each other, but, there's always a common thread of just something amongst us that we can find. And, as long as we can keep our mouth shut sometimes, and that's something I have a hard time doing.
I hear you. We all have no lid. and the
Yeah,
and the internet age is not helping us with our lids. Sometimes we just need to
right.
think things and not say them out loud. I am guilty of this also. The Other Way is the third track.
Yeah, The Other Way is also a pretty early song I wrote, and I think I wrote that pretty quickly. That song is about like not letting other people's mistakes and failures affect your day to day, and a song's about trying not to care about someone more than they care about themselves.
Alrighty. The next track is The Fine City of Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's a song about like figuring it out with the person who's now my wife and trying to figure out like is this She lived in Nashville, I lived in Michigan, and we would meet up in Indianapolis. And that was kind of the place where I like kind of knew like, oh, this is my person.
Nice. We're all looking for our person somewhere. Most people and
Yeah.
most folks. In My Head is the next track.
Yeah, in my head, I wrote that with Manchester Orchestra, and that's about how a lot of the problems I have with people and things and industries is sometimes all made up in my head, and I overthink it a lot, and I constantly am overthinking everything and every person and every person's decisions. It's yeah, it's a lot, but it's all in my head.
As a fellow person traveler living with anxiety and self-talk, it's like infuriating when people say just don't do it. if only
Yeah,
if only I could just not do it, right?
right,
Just we can be each other's therapist for a minute. And
totally,
I think it's part just like the human condition. We all do it. My friends who have the
absolutely.
same issues are like, how do I get over this? I was like, I don't know that you do. I think you learn to cope. You get coping mechanisms. You don't get cures, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Tough stuff. But the final track on the EP is Cannonball, which is also another single and a brilliant, I have to say, brilliant music video.
Thank you. Cannonball is a song about, it's just a love song. I've never really written just a true love song, and that's what that song is.
Do you have fans come up to you and as you're growing as an artist and traveling everywhere and playing shows and festivals, do you have people come up with their own interpretations of what the songs are about and surprise you?
I think so. I can't remember any top off the top of my head. It is sometimes funny because someone will hear a song and they'll go, "Is that about me?" And I'll have like a friend or acquaintance, and I'll go, "No, not at all. Would have told you if it was about you." But yeah, it's never. It's all. That's just a funny thing. Yeah.
Right on. And does it obviously as you continue to grow and expand your base here and play more shows and things, do you find, people are starting to like I see your streaming numbers, people are starting to obviously pick up on some of these tracks. Are you like this the success of the new EP? Do you find yourself pleasantly surprised? Do you like why that one? Why not this one? Like the one you intended? You ever have that
Yeah.
scenario happen to you?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like that's kind of just how I'm will always be and how will always exist. But yeah, that is something that I think about often. But I'm also like, I'm just happy that anyone is listening. It's kind of cool that I'm like at a point when I'm making something I know there's at least a couple hundred people that are going to listen to it. And that's cool, Like not everybody, yeah, it wasn't always like that. And so now that it is like that, it just feels cool. Feels very
Nice.
gratifying.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that. And by the way, like it's not that there's filler. There's just like the music business. We're in a streaming age and a singles age, right? And a Spotify age or TikTok age, and people have this much attention span. So clearly, these songs are all important to you. And there's no like I just made a track to fill out the track listing. These are all, I feel like these have a lot of meaning for you, these songs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't want to put anything out unless it means something to me or if like I like it. I think that's like something that's important, and that can be something that's like hard to do sometimes because sometimes it's easier just to like it's just easier sometimes to phone it in. Like I could definitely write a song that's about nothing and be like that was cool, but I'm trying to be like more true to myself and at least true to the feeling. And I think those are the songs that always connect the best.
Word. I love to hear that. Just as we wrap this up, I want to give you back your very busy day and get ready for your trip to see the Killers. Obviously, you have a lot of gigs coming up, but anything in particular you're looking forward to, or just in general, personal stuff, gigs you're going to go to for
uh
pleasure you're excited
I'm
about?
excited. I'm just excited to be home for a little bit. I've been gone for 5 weeks. I leave again next week for a while, and I wish I could stay home, but I'm excited to get back out, play some shows, and I'm working on my debut album right now. So that's exciting.
The full length, all
It's a lot of
right.
work, but it's scary, but I'm working on it.
And if you could give us a hint, is it going to be more of the same, or do you feel like expanding the sound? What are
I
the
hope, yeah, it's gonna
visions?
expand the sound. Definitely expand the sound. I think it's gonna be. And I'm working on it right now, actually. But uh, it's definitely expanding the sound, and that's like a cool thing because I've kind of lived in one pocket, but it's still going to be true to myself. Like it's not going to be some synth pop record or whatever. It's still got the guitars and the anthemic songs and uh, the little looking glass into my mind. And so I'm hoping people dig it. It is a little different though.
All right, right on. We're looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that personally. Jason
Thank you.
Singer, aka Michigander, very nice to meet you. Really great to hear your story. Thank you so much for sharing this with our listeners and our followers. And we'll keep making more. We'll keep coming back. Thank you so much.
That really means a lot. Thanks for taking the time. It means a lot.